South Africa already had a mountain in front of India. They are now building themselves what can only be called the Everest. They lead by 508 with 4 sessions left to play in this second test in Guwahati, which means they're 4 sessions away now from a first series win in India. We pick up where we left the conversation on ESPNcricinfo Matchday with Saba, Karim in our studio, and we have Vernon Philander joining us on link. And Saba, we must go to Vernon.
Yes.
Because Vernon, we have lots of questions. 500. How much more does South Africa want?
Listen, I've got a big smile on my face because I think it just feels like payback time for all the years of suffering. It certainly seemed like South Africa wants to bet India completely out of the contest. I think if India want to go and chase these runs, they're going to have to obviously get it in quick time. But I just get a feeling that they're perhaps playing the frustration game with India at the moment. I think we perhaps can see South Africa come out maybe for 2 overs after that lunch break, and then do the declaration. But I mean, again, impressive stuff. I was mightily impressed with the way that the Zorzi, as well as Tristan Stubbs, Jason have shown, but also ability, to rotate strike, the ability to get spinners off their length. So mightily partnership.
Yeah, coming to you with more questions on Stubbs and De Zorzi, who have given us what, believe it or not, on the 9th day, I mean, we had only 3 days in Kolkata, but coming to the end of the series, that's the first century partnership of this 2-match test series. But Saba, before we take it forward, this is, as Vernon points out, in a way payback, because you can think of so many visiting teams who've come here and who've been on the other side of facing this brunt, where India are miles ahead in the game and they're batting you further and further out.
Yes, I think that's quite evident. Well, the winds of change we can see here now. And I think just imagine the plight of the Indian dressing room. And I think Vernon is right when he says this is kind of a mind game that the South Africans are playing with India now. Because I thought that maybe at lunch, all the doors for India's so-called expected miraculous comeback was done with, but here they have exceeded all our expectations. I felt 475 was the magical number, and I was looking at maybe 1 hour after tea that they should have declared. They have gone above that, which obviously means that they do have a number in mind, and also the number of overs they require to bowl India out in the 4th innings. So they do have a game plan, and I think we talked about this yesterday as well. The idea is to utilize those 2 new balls. And South Africa feels that 80 overs tomorrow, another 25 overs today, I think that should suffice.
I do want to ask you, while we just wait on Vernon, about the effect this kind of session and this kind of waiting game can have on the batters. Because you've obviously, if you're a Jaiswal or a Rahul out on the field, you know that it's only a matter of time, but that time you don't know when it's going to come. So how does that play on the batter's mind?
It does at times get very frustrating, Yash, because as a opening batter or as a top order batter, you start to prepare, and you see the opposition batters have played on that kind of a wicket, and so you start to figure out a game plan that whenever you get to bat in the 4th innings, what will be your approach. But after a while, you get saturated, because then you also have to concentrate on the present. And that becomes extremely frustrating. So that is why I think that's what South Africa are trying to do. Whatever preparations or mental preparations the Indian batters or top order batters are planning to do, they have to a large extent succeeded in negating those kind of thoughts. Now I feel that even after lunch, they may bat for 2-3 overs and then only give 10 minutes time for the Indian opening batters to change and come back and bat in the 4th innings.
Yeah, if you're trying to annoy someone, go the full distance. Why stop halfway? Vernon, let's take us through the story of session 2, which is primarily the first century stand of this series. Tristan Stubbs and Tony De Zorzi, what stood out to you?
Yeah, I think the way they've been innovative. I think not allowing those spinners to settle in on the lengths that they were after. I think they've been very innovative in terms of playing the reverse sweeps, in terms of using the depth of the crease. So not allowing those spinners to settle in on a particular length that they were after. So again, it also speaks volumes of the amount of cricket these guys play in the subcontinent these days. I think for me the big battle was probably between Kuldeep and Tristan Stubbs. But you can just see he's got one up on Kuldeep at the moment because of him using his crease, getting outside the line of off stump, playing those reverse sweeps, asking the bowler to change up all the time, so not allowing those bowlers to settle in. And I think that was pretty impressive, in that partnership. But I think also if you look at the general way this game is unfolded, the going rate was between, say, 2.5, 2.8 maximum, but that partnership really injected and picked up that run, the tempo. So again, it just speaks volumes of, yes, South Africa looked to up the ante, but it's not about going all out and smashing boundaries. It's about rotating strike, running hard between the wickets, putting fielders under pressure. And from an Indian perspective, you can see there are some tired bodies out there. So I think there's a lot of fatigue. And that's yet why South Africa is perhaps playing this mental game at the moment. As a batter, you want to plan to get out there and get the pads on, as quickly as possible. But South Africa playing this mind game at the moment. You just never know when that declaration is going to come. I think it's going to make it even worse if South Africa go out there after the lunch break and bat for another 2 overs. So, yeah, I think, but also in many ways, South Africa's earned the right, to play this kind of cricket because that fantastic first innings that they've played, but also in the way that they have summed up and used from a technical point of view how smart they have been and outsmarted India, when they had the opportunity with bat in hand.
Saba, thoughts on de Zorzi's knock? He was quite impressive, in particular against Kuldeep and Washington, not just scoring the runs, but scoring them at a good clip.
Yes, Yash, extremely impressive from Tony de Zorzi. What really stood apart in his innings was his precision in picking the length. Even against Kuldeep Yadav, he was able to pick Kuldeep Yadav's variations from the hand. Even against Jadeja or against Vashi Sundar, it's the way he was able to pick the length early. And I think that is why we saw so much of solidity in his approach and in his footwork. On top of that, he's extremely succinct in his placement. When the field is, when you keep an inside-outside field, once you pick the length early, then you get into strong positions to just maneuver the ball. On top of that, the reverse sweep, the conventional sweep, he was the one who played the aggressive role in this partnership with Stubbs. But overall, together, I think this partnership has really, frustrated the Indian unit. And the more they have spent time on the field, one could sense from the body language that it has taken so much out from the Indian side. So I think now South Africa have put themselves in such a position from where they can easily impose themselves. They can set attacking field, they can set catching fielders close to the bat, and they can really apply the pressure on the Indian batting lineup.
And that Stubbs-Kuldeep contest is proving to be such an interesting subplot. Yeah. Obviously, he spent a lot of time with each other at Delhi Capitals. Stubbs may have felt that he was seeing him well, but then got a great ball from Kuldeep in the first. But that battle continues.
You enjoy such battle, isn't it, Yash? I think that's what makes Test cricket so interesting. Although Stubbs has batted against Kuldeep Yadav, albeit in a practice session while playing for Delhi Capitals, but I quite like the minor adjustments or the tweaks he made in his stance and in his setup. When he realized that the wicket is offering more turn and bounce, he shifted his stance from, say, middle and leg to off stump. And I think from there, his intention was to keep his pads outside the line of those deliveries. That is why he relied more on playing the sweep shot. There was a number of occasions when he could have tried the conventional sweep shot also, but maybe because of the extra bounce, he preferred to play the reverse sweep. It was good, solid defense, excellent technique displayed from Stubbs also, and more so against Kuldeep Yadav. So you have that in the first innings. Kuldeep Yadav got the wicket of Tristan Stubbs. He was so committed and he was so focused that he did not give away his wicket to Kuldeep Yadav in the second innings.
Vernon, on the evidence of this second session, where do you stand on where this pitch stands as of now? Because the first session made us think that, okay, it's turning and bouncing a bit more. The fact that 30 overs only of spin were bowled and only one wicket was lost, where does that put the pitch for you?
Yeah, I think there's a bit more to work with for the spinners. I just think South Africa has been so proactive in changing up the tactics from an Indian perspective, not allowing those spinners to settle in. But I do feel if you have some more attacking fields, try and stop those ones, you then force the batters to take that element of risk, which I don't think India's done enough of in that session. Of course, I mean, having been in the field for over 250 overs, the bodies start to talk to you, and unfortunately, I should say, fortunately, perspective, they've capitalized on those tired bodies. I think a lot of those ones, when Zorzi and Stubbs came into the crease, it's about hitting soft hands to cover and take one, put the fielder under pressure. So those little, momentum, clusters from a South African point of view was really impressive to see. And I don't think South Africa is going to afford India, a couple of those soft singles. I think they're going to be a lot more attacking in the field placings. And of course, I've got the runs on the board, and why not? So India will have to take that element of risk. From a South African perspective, I just don't think they've been put under enough pressure in order to take that element of risk. But again, a lot of credit to the way these guys have formulated the partnerships, number one. But also, I think you get a sense that Africa's done thorough homework on the opposition that they're up against, because their shot selection speaks volumes of, taking the element of risk out of play. I think, like Saba rightfully said, Tristan Stubbs making that adjustment from the first innings to try and get outside that line of off stump, understanding that he's going to try and trap him in front, and almost taking an LBW bold dismissals out of play, but by try and meet the ball outside of off stump, in the reverse sweep department. But impressive, from a South African perspective, overall perspective, in the way that they've utilized their tactics.
On the evidence of these two sessions we've seen on day 4, feels like the first 30 to 40 overs of India's innings will effectively decide which way this contest goes?
Yes, Yash. I think it's the hard ball is the new ball. Maybe till the 35th over, 40th over, you can stretch a little bit here and there. That's where the Indian batters need to be extremely watchful. And South African team will have the advantage of using 2 new balls. And I think the only way India can look forward to is to look to survive and draw the game. There are only 2 possible results left now in this test match. One is win for South Africa, and other, if India bats well, puts their head down and build partnerships, play for longer hours, India can manage to draw this game, and that will be a huge achievement for India. But I think on the other hand, South Africa would love to garner as many points as possible. If they get 100% by winning both these test matches, they have put themselves in that position they can jolly well do so.
Yeah, 2 big series at home coming up next year for South Africa against Australia and England. So if they were to finish this with 100% from a series in India, that is just immense for the World Test champions. Vernon, lay down the template now. South Africa, we would think at some point very soon in this final session they will start bowling. What are their plans going to be?
Yeah, I think you're putting me a little bit under pressure here, because I've got to make all the calls. But I do feel they're perhaps going to come out 10, 15 minutes after this lunch break, just to frustrate those Indians a little bit more. And then of course, we've seen it every single day. We're going to lose between 10 and 12 overs. So they are well aware of that. So they perhaps want to give themselves in the vicinity of about 15, 16 overs tonight. And if they can knock 2 or 3 Indian wickets over, they would feel that they're well in command of bowling India out tomorrow. But I do feel they're going to come out again for just a brief stint after lunch.
So, yeah, Vernon is right. I think these 2 sessions, the evening session today and then morning session tomorrow, that's the best possible opportunity for South African bowlers to pick up wickets. If they can make early inroads today as well as tomorrow morning, I think they'll put themselves in a very strong position to win this test match as early as possible.
All right, just to go back to where Vernon started. Vernon, you've earned the right to be facing the pressure questions. South Africa are the ones calling the shots in this test match, so we need you to be calling the shots on the show as we try and cover the story of what's unfolding in Guwahati. Saba, quickly from an Indian perspective, you've spoken about the mindset and how challenging it can be to come out to bat after having suffered the way they have.
Yeah.
But how do you see the approach being in the final session? Is it going to be shut shop and just try and be as few wickets down?
Play your own game, Yash. I also feel that I know the aim of the side would be to survive and eke out a draw, which will be great for India. But I think at some stage, while playing in the 4th innings, you also need that kind of an altruism from a batter's perspective. Okay, I also have to play my own game. I also need to put runs on the board. This is for my good. So for all these young batters who are right now in the side, Sai Sudarshan, Dhruv Jurel, even Yashasvi Jaiswal, for that matter, KL Rahul has got a lot to prove. All these batters can do that. If they can, instead of being selfless all the time, it is also good to be more altruistic at times and play for your own own place in the lineup, so to speak. And if they can do that, all that together can work well for India.
Yeah, worth pointing out that when they weren't batting on treacherous pitches, this same batting group, Gill is of course missing, did pull off a big heist of a draw in Manchester where they had to bat the best part of 150 overs and they managed to do that. Conditions are very different. Vernon Philander will remind us that even the opposition is very different. These are the world champions in front of India with a bowling attack which is causing all sorts of troubles to them all through the series. Vernon, since we have narrowed it down to just 2 results possible, before we wrap this show, I want you to attribute a percentage chance. South Africa win and draw.
Well, I'm going to go South Africa. Probably have 80% chance of winning this. But just on Saba's point, I feel the pressure needs to be taken off the individual. I think there's just too much pressure on a particular batter batting well. I think it needs to be happening in partnership. And I think if you look at the way South Africa's gone about their business, it wasn't really about one particular batter that stands out. It's about forming a partnership, breaking those sessions down into mini sessions, getting through those little tough periods. Like is identified, the new ball is going to be a threat. So we need to get through that initial spell. But then, how do you go about, formulating your innings? And I just feel there's a lot of pressure on a couple of individuals. And it almost feels like, the guys are being, obviously forced into a corner. And once you're being forced into a corner, you've got so much pressure up against you as an individual. So I just think from an Indian perspective, it's to start playing like a team again. Start trusting the guy on the other end. And like I said, breaking those sessions down into little mini sessions. But to come back to your point, I'm going to go South Africa 80% for a win, and I'm going to leave 20% to a draw.
All right. And before you leave us for now, what will the score be when we meet at Stumps?
I think South Africa is going to come out and face probably 2 to 3 overs. So I don't think from a score perspective it's going to have a massive impact. But I feel India is going to be 20 for 3 at Stumps.
Saba, Karim?
Sorry, Saba. I do apologize.
Oh, well, that means, Vernon, you also predicted an early finish tomorrow, isn't it? I want to extend this. Let's see. I'm looking at if India can be 1 down for runs don't matter at this stage.
Yeah.
So 1 down, I think, number of wickets if you have in hand for tomorrow, then I think you can plan better. I do agree with Vernon that we need partnerships to take this game to the last stages of the test match in order to survive. But I just felt that when you go into bat, what are you thinking? As an individual, you also need to score runs. I know partnerships are very important, but I think overall, this is a big ask for Indian young batting lineup to survive, to build partnerships and to score runs so that you're able to draw this test match.
All right, we will leave it here. Vernon Philander, I can confirm I have clocked 8 broad grins on your face in this show. Let's see how many more we get when we reconvene at Stumps. Look forward to your company then, and yours too, Saba.
Cheers.
Let's see where this game stands at Stumps on day 4. India will be batting. They will be in pursuit of something more than 500. And it will be a case of whether they can last what will be 100 plus overs. So join us at the end of play on day 4 in Guwahati on ESPNcricinfo Matchday.